I genuinely welcome the opportunity to respond to this members' debate on the East Kilbride rail project, not least of all because it provides an opportunity to clear up one or two misunderstandings. Like thousands of rail passengers along the East Kilbride to Glasgow rail corridor, I'm sure the Parliament welcomes, and we've heard from members welcoming the commitment to the full electrification of the East Kilbride line. I hope that clears up the question that Graham Simpson asked earlier about full electrification. This is an exciting project. It will not only further our ambitious decarbonisation plans for Scotland's railways by 2035, but it will deliver for rail passengers from East Kilbride and its surrounding communities a sustainable travel option using cleaner, greener trains, which will meet anticipated future demand well into the foreseeable future. Now, we all recognise the need for wider decisive action as well to meet the future challenges of the climate emergency. And the substantial overall investment, which will rise to at least £120 million, that we've announced in the East Kilbride line, will not only deliver electrified services, but also significantly enhanced station and interchange options for the travelling public. These will make rail services more attractive and accessible, and they're going to encourage a step change in modal shift from the polluting car to a fully decarbonised rail corridor. So let me address the issue of dualling. Yes, this was talked about, but it was never a specific requirement for the route. What was required for this was to deliver a project that would meet peak passenger capacity into the foreseeable future in a decarbonised way. Now, dualling was certainly an option that was considered as part of the business case development process. The cost was prohibitive and simply didn't offer value for money or represent the best use of scarce public finance resources. When it is, can I just finish this point? When it's possible to meet projected demand by the approach being taken. And I want to be clear about something here, because there is a bit of a myth out there that Network Rail had a proposal that was vetoed by Transport Scotland. The proposal that came to Transport Scotland for approval was a joint proposal from Network Rail and ScotRail based upon the evidence that they had before them. I give way to the member.
Jackson Carlo.
It's a simple question, actually, and I don't know what the Minister can answer. Can he define what he means by the foreseeable future?
Minister.
The point, I want to come on to that, if I may, about the modelling that's done. So, of course, we know that passenger usage has shrunk during the pandemic. We know that that will return to some extent, maybe to a greater extent, and what's going to be delivered in this line will encourage further usage. So the modelling takes account of growth. That was the whole point of this. The plans that we've announced, together with the significant benefits that will be delivered, will cost less than it would have done with dualling. It will deliver value for money, it will deliver for passengers, and it will deliver for the environment. And, you know, I respect Richard Leonard's demands for all sorts of investment in rail, but if he's going to call for more services, more stations, investment in infrastructure, reduced fares, he has a duty to say where that money would come from. And it's so typical, I'm afraid, of the Labour Party to do that in this chamber, or to not do that in this chamber. Graham Simpson.
Graham Simpson.
Thank the Minister for taking the intervention. So as I'm listening very carefully to what he's saying, does he not accept that dualling the East Kilbride line was not just an idea, it was a promise? It was a promise that was made by Michael Matheson. And if you don't do it, how do you get the resilience that we don't have right now, where trains sometimes stop at Busby? How are you going to get more trains if you do not dual the line? How can that be achieved?
Minister.
I'll come on to that in a moment, but I want to explain the process here that's undertaken and is being undertaken across Scotland's railways just now. So we have identified projects in order that are going to be part of the decarbonisation agenda. There is then groundwork carried out. That's currently being carried out in the Dunboyne to Aberdeen stretch at the moment. And that gives us a better understanding of what lies underneath our railways and to the sides of the railways. When you have an elderly rail network, as we do in Scotland, there is no record of what it was built upon. And, for example, on the Borders Rail, there were far more mine workings discovered as the project unfolded. So that's inevitably going to lead to an outcome in terms of the nature of the delivery that's perhaps at odds with what was anticipated. But we still have to ensure that we deliver the outcome in terms of the passenger capacity that everybody is looking for, and that's what we're setting out to do. Right now, the peak time demand on the East Kilbride route remains lower than the ScotRail national average. It sits at 34% at pre-pandemic levels. But of course, passengers are going to return. That's what we want. It's what we want to encourage. And the joint industry passenger modelling for this route and the analysis of changing travelling patterns across Scotland gives us the confidence that the capacity that will be provided on cleaner, greener trains that we expect to roll into service for late 2024 will be more than sufficient to meet both current and forecast peak demand. Because, for one thing, the carriages on the electric trains are significantly bigger than are available on the current rolling stock. And of course, once, to address Graeme Simpson's point about how do you address some of the resilience issues, as Mr Simpson knows from our previous conversations, there is what's being worked through at the moment, in addition to the single tracking, is potential enhancements around signalling, which is one of the issues around Busby, and also further track infrastructure in the form of loops, which will allow us to address the very points that he rightly makes. Now, that development work is currently ongoing, and I anticipate Network Rail will be reporting back before the next stage of the business case process early next year. Now, given the genuine interest and concern that's expressed tonight, I'm happy to commit tonight to arrange a briefing for all interested MSPs at that point, at which we'll have an opportunity to interrogate the detail of what will be in the final proposal in terms of the overall package. Our significant investment in this critical route, I would argue, demonstrates a continuing commitment to decarbonisation of Scotland's railway. East Kilbride is only a part of the proposals. We're already targeting Barrhead, the Borders Railways coming up. The Fife Circle is next on the agenda. The Leavenmouth rail development is being done with electrification in place for that connection. And as I said earlier, as we speak, the teams are out on the rail link from Dunblane right up to Aberdeen, doing that groundwork assessment. And I'm pleased to say that the last report I had was it had not identified any issues. Now, it takes time to plan these major infrastructure projects, and it's important that we do that preparatory work so that when we go in to do the work on the ground, that we don't anticipate any problems. And to pick up a point that was asked about earlier, in addition to the cost associated that we knew about with dualling, there is a risk assessment done because of the nature of the work that has to be carried out. And then there is a stretch on that line that would have involved about roughly 14 metres of earth and various other things to be removed. Now, you take that out, you have to dispose of it, but it's then what you find at that point. And the risk assessment in there provided a degree of concern. But I go back to the point I made earlier, which of course is that it's about the outcome here. It's to deliver the capacity on a clean, green line, and that is what we intend to deliver. But as I said earlier, more than happy to invite all interested MSPs to a briefing early in the new year to allow them the opportunity to ask any questions they've got and interrogate what the final proposals will be.